condition of the sheets and the mattress indicate that someone else was in the bed with Amanda just before she died. That's A.
What's B?
B is I'm supposed to tell you you're breaking in a new partner in on this.
Partner again?
Yeah, some cat he's on loan from dope. Real burnout, on the ragged edge.
Oh, perfect.
Gun!
Raj, meet your new partner.
I'm too old for this shit.
Welcome back to the Lethal Geeks podcast, episode 3. How y'all doing? Briggs is back in town, so is Murtaugh, and we are rocking some up, Daryl. I like the uniform.
Yeah, check it out. Hold up. You ready?
All right, guys. There you go.
Is it?
There you go. Now we show the back. The back too.
Yeah, hold on.
All right, ready?
A little bit.
1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. All right.
Oh, how you doing, Charles?
Pretty good, brother. How you doing?
I've been doing good, man. Back home. Came back from vacation.
How was that, by the way?
Pretty good. I went to Miami. I was going for a week originally. And then I decided, fuck it, I'm staying an extra week. I was like, I just had too much fun.
Hey, hang on. What is look at my tag. Hang on a second.
What about you?
You see it?
Oh yeah.
Hold on a second.
You got It's still the third episode. We're still getting the things ready here and there. Yeah, you got to change that. All right, cool, man. Yeah, I know, dude. Like I said, I went to Miami, spent 2 weeks at my best friend's house. We went to Orlando, Naples, Miami Beach. Dude, it's a long vacation, long overdue. So now was the time. What about you? How was the show last time? You did good, man.
We did all right for the hiccups that we had, but but we did all right. You coming back in and helping us out was pretty cool. So yeah, so no, it was all right.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Now, well, we got.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, well, we got a packed show for you guys tonight, so just roll on in. We're gonna start reading the chats here in just a second. Sergeant Riggs, go ahead, brother.
Alrighty, so where's that? Oh, there it is. Well, to all the geeks and Snyder fans out there in the world, and you guys know the rules. Charles, tell the rules.
Rules of the platform: absolutely no disrespect whatsoever to anybody in the chat or on the platform. That includes special guests and us, of course, and of course, no disrespect in Zach. We're just not having that here, and absolutely, positively, no politics whatsoever. I don't care what side of the line you fall on, no politics whatsoever, and that is it.
Perfect. I agree with that 100%. And also, since we are Snyder fans, we also support Snyderverse Netflix, CSL and FX, but we also support AFSP. So any of you out there who want to support AFSP, please go into intothepeople.com/ZSJL. Every t-shirt that you guys buy helps the cause, saves a life. So if you can donate, please, links right there, and do so. All right. We got someone very special today, don't we?
Yes, we do. This man needs no introduction. He is currently in the process of working on his very first full-length feature film. called One Punch Dan. I'm excited to see that. We'll be bringing this gentleman on here in just a second. But yeah, we'll be talking about that movie, breaking it down, how he became a Snyder fan, and his entire journey. So
this man also brought us, the Lethal Geeks, together. Literally, he brought us together. So we felt it was very important to bring him to this episode, because this episode is going to be very, very good, because not only we're having this gentleman over here in our podcast, but also because we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We got to talk about Rebel Moon Director's Cut. They're finally out, and we're assuming everybody's already watched it, so we will be breaking that as well today in the show. But first, let us introduce you, the one and only Captain Murphy.
This is not a shit assignment. Yes, it is. No, it isn't.
It is.
It isn't.
Captain, it's a shit assignment.
Shut up, the both of you.
Here you go, sir.
What are you supposed to do with this guy?
How the hell should I know? Take him to Disneyland.
Oh, this stinks. This stinks. This stinks.
I don't give a fuck, Riggs. That's why I don't have an ulcer, because I know when to say I don't give a fuck. Now, here's where he's staying. It's a nice hotel. All the expenses are being picked up by the Justice Department, so enjoy yourself. And Riggs, one more thing.
What?
You know what that says?
Yeah. Same thing as that, but I don't give a fuck.
Welcome,
sir.
Captain.
It is great to be here with you two gentlemen tonight. Thank you so much for having me. That was a fantastic intro. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. So yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it, man. We know you got a lot on your plate right now. You got some projects in the air going on with your very first feature film that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. We're going to get into that. But first, we'd like to know where it all started for you when it comes to Zack Snyder, man, and his films.
God, for me, it started with, wow, I would have to say Dawn of the Dead. I saw Dawn of the Dead, and Snyder was on my radar ever since. I was excited. Every film, anything that he did from then on, I was a fan. I will admit, I had a little bit of trepidation when he took over for DC, because I know what kind of director he is. He's a visionary director, and his visuals were amazing. But I was a little bit worried when I heard he was directing Man of Steel. And then when I saw Man of Steel, it blew me away, and I never had another worry about Zack Snyder again.
Agreed. Yep, that's we had similar journeys in that respect. When Dawn of the Dead came out, I had no idea who this guy is, so I'm like, that's actually a pretty good take. You know, that was a pretty good take on the George A. Romero version. So I wanted, after when 300 came out, it was like, okay. And I went to the movies to see that. See, I didn't see Dawn of the Dead at the movie theater.
Yeah, I didn't see Dawn of the Dead at the movie theater either, because Dawn of the Dead, I seen it on video. But I have a little bit of an oddball story about that. And I want to talk to you guys about it just briefly, because it's something that's been bothering me for the longest time, and nobody can help me with it. And I know I'm not crazy, but this kind of makes me question my reality. When I first saw Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, the theatrical version of Dawn of the Dead, I distinctly remember Dawn of the Dead having an animated opening sequence. I distinctly remember when the girl runs out of the house, when she's running out of the house after her boyfriend becomes a zombie and all that, and she's running out of the house to the car to escape. That entire sequence, there was music playing. That entire sequence was animated up to the point where she gets in the car, pulls away, and drives off. And then the Dawn of the Dead logo comes down, and it's a yellowish, drippy, zombie-like logo. That does not exist anywhere. It's not on the internet. It's not in any existing copies, because I had the movie on DVD. I had the movie even on VHS. Okay. And that opening is not there. It's not anywhere. I cannot find it. I cannot find any evidence that that opening ever happened. And I went on, and I even went on, I put in a search, a zombie movie directed by Zack Snyder. I think I put this in Google. Zombie movie directed by Zack Snyder with an animated opening sequence. Okay. I put that, I think I put something, I'm paraphrasing, I put something like that to the effect of, in the Google search, and Dawn of the Dead came up. But that's the only thing that I have that even slightly corroborates what I'm saying to you. I have no evidence that this was the opening, but this is the opening I remember. I remember that when I first seen it. I remember several years ago watching it. I remember the last night I was at my parents' house before I moved into my own apartment. I remember watching Dawn of the Dead that night. The memory sticks out to me like it was yesterday, and it still had that opening.
That's insane.
I know that I'm not crazy, because I remember it so vividly, and I remember it so, I could draw it. I mean, I remember it that vividly. It's ridiculous. So I'm struggling with this, because this is something that's been bothering me for a long time. I cannot figure it out. I thought maybe this was one of those like Mandela effect type things, that we're going through.
Well, I was going to say there's only two possibilities. It's either what a neurologist says or what a physicist would say. So the neurologist would say that our brain is remembering things, and it does that all the time. It's just a failing of the way and that's in all of us. It's just the way our brains work. It tries to rearrange things a certain way when it's trying to remember stuff, and that happens. Or in a parallel universe, you are experiencing what they would call an echo, and that's what physicists would say. So you are experiencing another you, probably another version of you, experiencing what you saw, and it was Dawn of the Dead, but just exactly like the way you said. And that echo.
The movie is the same. Yeah, everything about it now is the same, except for the very beginning, that opening sequence. And that opening sequence only exists in the theatrical cut, not the director's cut. The director's cut is the way the director's cut is, with the red logo and everything. It's the same. But if you watch the theatrical cut now, if you go and you watch the theatrical cut as it exists now, it's essentially the same as the director's cut, just with a few scenes rearranged, a few differences. There's not that many differences between the director's cut of Dawn of the Dead and the theatrical cut, but it just bothers me. And it's weird, because it's a Zack Snyder thing, and we're all such big Zack Snyder fans. I'm just like, and I always said, if I ever got a chance to actually talk one-on-one with Zack Snyder, I would tell him about my experience with the opening of the theatrical cut of Dawn of the Dead, just to see what he would tell me, because I honestly feel like it happened somewhere. And that's why I'm leaning towards what you're saying, like echoes. But the thing that I don't understand about that is why I remember watching it like that multiple times. It's not just one type of thing. It's like when you watch a movie over and over and over and over again, and you remember. That's how I remember this, because I watched it over and over and over and over again. But it's not like that anymore. Yeah. And then to find out that it was never like that, or at least where we are here, it was never like that. And that's why I don't think it's a Mandela effect, because I went on the Mandela effect and nobody remembers that opening except me.
Exactly.
Nobody remembers
people
it
remember,
like that.
Exactly. People remember the Berenstain Bears and the spelling and all of
They
that.
They remember the Sinbad movie where he was the genie and all that. They
Yeah.
remember all that, but nobody remember. They say, "Oh no, Dawn of the Dead was never like that." I don't know what's wrong with you, dude. But no, that's just a so.
That's insane.
If this only been with Dawn of the Dead, have you ever experienced any other movie like that, or is this the only one?
Well, I mean, I'm sure if I thought back, I could think of a few, because personally, I do remember the Sinbad movie with Sinbad as a genie. I do remember that movie. I do remember seeing that movie. Now, I don't know, I know it's not a real movie, at least in our reality, but I do remember it. So, and there's some scenes from it that I remember, but not as vividly as Dawn of the Dead, though. Dawn of the Dead really sticks out.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Interesting. All right. So, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, Azad, so you are, I like to call you the godfather in the in the Snyder community. You've been there from day one, and you're still here, and respect for, like, you literally, like, have seen it all. I want to know is how did you find this community? From the release of the Snyder Cut days.
Well, from the release, the Snyder Cut days, it came from my frustration with the theatrical cut of Justice League. I was on Twitter. What's going on, sweet Sonia G? I was on Twitter, and I had noticed that there were a lot of people who felt the way that I did about the theatrical cut. And this was literally like the same day that I saw Justice League. And there was a small group of people. There was a really super fan of Zack Snyder. Her name is Fiona Zhang. She's Chinese. She was a very, very staunch supporter of Zack Snyder, and she was creating a website dedicated to the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And she had all this stuff going, and I had talked to her. Her and I were DMing back and forth, and it would at all. And I had been, I'd gotten to know her and gotten to know several other people in the movement at that time. Then this is within a number of days, while Justice League was still in theaters, and it started. The release the Snyder Cut actually started on social media before Justice League was even released, because there were a lot of shenanigans leading up to that, and there were a lot of bogus YouTubers going around trying to justify Joss Whedon taking over for Zack, and the bogus claims that Whedon is gonna complete Zack's vision, is gonna do it for his friend, and try to make it like when people try to say that Zack and James Gunn are friends. It's kind of like you get all that nonsense that you hear because one picture exists of the two of them together. I think at the Dawn of the Dead premiere or something.
Yeah, there's only one picture.
So to me, it just was. I've been involved in it since the beginning. I was in that movement. I knew all the players. I knew all the people at the top. There's a lot of them that I still talk to this day. Unfortunately, Fiona's not one of them. I think Fiona went back to her regular life. in China and she's doing whatever she's doing. And it's kind of funny to me because like the whole, like she kind of launched the whole thing. So they kind of at that time, they kind of called her the Wonder Woman of the Snyder Cut movement because she was kind of at the center of it all. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd been there since the beginning, and then throughout the course of it, as we moved on from release to Snyder Cut, then we went into, restore the Snyderverse, and people were trying to, and restore the Snyderverse. I mean, had a really good run and accomplished a lot, but unfortunately it didn't move the needle enough to make it happen. And
didn't make the impact
that's why we're here now with sell Snyderverse to Netflix, because Restore just wasn't having it. And people don't realize that WBD blacklisted Restore.
The hashtag, yeah.
So
yeah.
the hashtag, they don't get nothing from it. It's like it doesn't even exist, and people don't even realize it. It doesn't even matter if it trends because they're not.
That's what I was going to say.
Because they're not paying attention to it. It's a muted hashtag for that company. That company does not see any restore the Snyderverse, and they're not going to acknowledge any restore the Snyderverse. And that's what people don't understand. And this is something that I wish that we in the Cell movement could push more as a reason why you should really be behind the Cell movement more so than Restore, because Restore is not being seen in the way that you want it to be.
Right. Mm-hmm. But also Restore. I'm sorry. The Cell has a different message. It's going towards Netflix because we tried for a long time to reason with WBD to please, you know what, we are paying consumers. We will pay top dollar for this. Just give us what we're asking. They didn't want to, so we took our business to Netflix.
The unfortunate thing about all that, though, what you're saying right now, the unfortunate thing is that we still need WBD to broker the deal. Without WBD, you can't have a deal.
Right.
So that's the only problem. I mean, we can say all we want that we're talking to Netflix, we're not talking to you, but at the end of the day, you need WBD to broker the deal, and it's always been my issue that you need WBD, so you can't fully cut them out. You can try, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you don't really want to deal with them. But at the end of the day, if they come out and say, well, no, we're not doing that, no matter how much money Netflix offers us, then it's all for naught because because they're the ones that own the property and they're the ones that have the final say as to whether or not it can be
exactly
be done.
That company would have to be and that's what I was saying the other day. It's almost like they are licensing everything else around. It's like they're slowly circling the drain. Zack Snyder stuff is dead center in the middle, but they're purposely
because they still make money make money off of Snyder's stuff. That's why they don't want Snyder, but they do like the fact that they can continue making money off of Snyder's content. And that's the one thing that I think is really could work in our favor for Cell, that eventually they're going to get to the point where it's like, yeah, we need the money. And if Netflix makes them a good enough offer, again, it's an offer that they can't refuse, they're going to take that offer and they're going to be like, sure, go ahead, do what you want to do. And that's what I think, because things are not going well for WBD as a company. We know this.
I actually was checking out because I trade, part-time, once in a while. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking at their stock. I haven't like bought any stock from them. I don't want to, but I've been studying and looking, and it doesn't freaking move. Like, because when you do like
all
stock,
it does is drop. It doesn't. It's not going up.
right, but it doesn't. But if you want to like for instance, you want to like trade and just make a quick
It's
buck out of it.
It's
Thank you. It's stagnant.
I mean,
By the way,
isn't it down to like isn't it like at nearly $5 a share? Like, is it any higher than that? Because I thought when I saw it was like around $5. It was like $5 a share. That's hostile takeover money there.
It's $8.27.
Yeah. Okay, $8. Well, yeah. So I mean, it's not good.
By the way, Zod, your friend here, Sweet Sonia, just joined the podcast, so I just want to give her a quick shout out because this is what we do here in the Lethal Geeks podcast. Everybody's welcome. It's all about family. It's all about fandom. So, Sweet Sonia, thank you very much for joining. And
Sweet Sonia, welcome to the channel.
You get a drop. Welcome to the party, Sonia.
Sweet Sonia G is also in the One Punch Man movie. She has a
nice
has a great
speaking of
has
which,
a great character in the film. So
all right, awesome. That's awesome.
All right. Okay, it looks like our other guests have arrived.
Alrighty. So should we segment to the next subject, or do you want to talk a bit more about the One Punch Man?
Well, hey, we can bring them on and we can talk about One Punch Man. Let's do this.
Okay. Alrighty. So where is that? Okay, so Captain, meet Leo Getz.
That is a sack of shit. This guy is dirty. He's a crook.
Doesn't matter if he's dirty, Riggs. He's a diplomat. He's got immunity. He's beyond the law. We can't touch him, arrest him, prosecute him. Is that clear? Does that spell it out for you?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Who the hell is this guy?
Leo Getz. Nice to meet you, sir.
Getz. Jeez. You took a civilian on a bust. A civilian you're supposed to be protecting.
He's alive, isn't he?
It's okay. It's okay. I signed a waiver.
Shut up, Leo.
Besides, I usually wait in the car.
Usually.
That's right. Hey, they're very adamant about that.
I don't give a
These
fuck.
guys are good cops. They're the best. Let me tell you, one time a guy...
How's it going, guys?
What's up, man?
what's going on? RawkTalks. Good to see you, bro.
Nice to see you too, Zod. How you been, brother?
I've been good.
I apologize if I look a little sweaty. I was kind of rushing to get here. I had a busy night. It was my dad's birthday tonight, so we were over at my parents' place celebrating. So I had to rush home, get everything all set up. So here I am.
You signed the waiver. You signed the waiver, though.
I made it. We're all good. I'm here. I'm
We
alive.
are just about to get into One Punch Dan. So I wanted to ask the first question right out of the gate, and I just want to go around and you guys can ask those any questions that you have for him. But in particular, you were speaking about Pause Not Stop and how that took off, and then how things happened in between that. We were there for all of that from the beginning to the end. And when did this idea, after all of that happened, when did this idea for One Punch Dan suddenly just ignite for you?
How it started was One Punch Dan actually started as a joke on one of Bat Dan's live streams. It was a joke about Bat Dan, punching old ladies in the face, punching Karens in the face, and myself, Sin Havoc, and One Punch Dan. It was this big joke between the three of us, and I got the idea of, I'm like, I can make a story. I can create something out of this joke. And it started as just a joke. Like it really is a joke. It's really funny. And it kind of just went from there, where ideas come from the strangest places sometimes. Like I kind of got this idea because make no mistake, One Punch Man is not a joke of a movie. It's not a comedy. It's an actual, serious superhero movie with lots of mystery, intrigue, and drama, and it's very deeply layered. You're going to see a lot of my my movie inspirations of like directors, a lot of filmmakers that have inspired me. You'll be able to see a lot of that in One Punch Man by the various genres that are kind of crisscrossed and mishmashed in this film that I'm doing here. There's definitely a lot of Zack Snyder, influences in this. Of course, there's influences from the Wachowskis and John Woo and Scorsese. There's all kinds of stuff that you're gonna, lots of references and stuff you're gonna see in this movie that they're gonna show you. Oh yeah, I could see where Zod got his ideas for doing something like this or something like that, and it's all there. And
we're gonna notice once we see the movie, we're gonna notice the references.
Right, you'll get it. You'll get the type of the type of stuff that's being referenced in the movies. At least paying homage to certain film types of filmmakers with certain scenes. Sergio Leone. Lots of stuff. You're going to see a lot of John Singleton. You're going to see a lot of stuff in this movie that is very, that's going to be very reminiscent of certain filmmakers.
Like the script, everything, you wrote it yourself, or
yes,
ghostwriter also?
Yes, no. I wrote the script. Entirely. The script took me about a month and a half to write. And I had to go, and then I've gone back and have made edits and changes and various different things. I'm currently using like the third draft of the script for the for the actual movie. So a lot of the stuff that's come from it is from the third draft right now.
So can I ask?
We were talking. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I've noticed that with some of the promotional material that you've put out, it looks like a combination of like real people that are within the movement and AI art, if I'm correct. Can you kind of explain the process of like how you're actually putting together a movie with that? Like what kind of programs are you using to do that? And like
that's actually gonna be my question.
Yeah, like I want you to kind of go into detail about that. Like what's
I can. What you're seeing is with all early on, the promotional material I was releasing was animated stuff. It was a combination of AI animation and still frames and various things that I was doing, basically storyboard material and artwork that was ideas that were that I was using. But that was before I actually got into making the movie, where the programs I'm using now, I'm using about 12 different AI programs to make this movie. 2 of them are literally in beta right now, and I can't even talk about them because they're basically programs that essentially are they're experimental, and there's all kinds of things with these programs, and I'm kind of under sworn to secrecy about these programs, but most of the stuff that I'm using now, I have subscriptions and various things that I'm doing, like all the music that I'm creating for the movie. For example, I use AI music programs, and I'm subscribed to these programs, and where I can create my own music. I can create musical scores. I can create actual songs. I can create whatever I want to create essentially for the movie. All my sound effects, I use a program called 11 Labs, where I am able to basically take all the voices of the characters and clone the voices. And then after I clone the voices, I can basically make those voices say whatever I need them to say for the movie.
Is that just as simple as literally taking a recording of somebody's voice and then the program, let's say, just analyzes that and then can run with it?
What it will do is, for example, I could take like about a minute and a half of your voice, for example, and I could throw that into the program. It's just a snippet of your voice, and what it does is it will generate your voice from that clip. And so then once it's generated your voice, I can take that clip and I don't need the clip anymore. The clip, I can discard the clip, because now all I want to do, if I want RawkTalks to say whatever I want him to say, I just type in my script, whatever I want you to say, and then I hit generate, and then the dialogue comes out. Now, here's the great thing about 11 Labs. When I, say, for example, it's a super serious scene, and I need Mama Bear, I was just about to mention you, because you are the perfect person for this. I cannot stress that enough. Mama Bear has one of the greatest voices, period, for this type of project. There is no, say I want her to say something really, really serious, and I want the emotion to be conveyed. It's like getting takes from an actor. So the first time I get her to say something, it might be, you were wrong and I was right. Well, you get her to say you were wrong and I was right. The first time she delivers it, she just delivers it, like a regular line. You were wrong and I was right. I click generate again, because that's not what I want. Then she might say, you were wrong and I was right. And then I could be like, well, that's a little bit good, but that's a lot stronger than what I wanted. So then I click on it again, and she'll say it a little more nuanced with emotion. And I'll be like, I like that. She's saying it with emotion. It's nuanced. I can use that clip. And
so it's very similar to AI image generation, where when you generate images, it gives you multiple different versions, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to use from there. So it's
one of the video programs that I'm using to make the movie. The movie is fully photorealistic. Doesn't look animated at all. All the scenes looks like a movie. You can generate the images for the movie. You can generate the scenes on the fly. So I can go and I could type in a scene. RawkTalks walks into the room and punches Charles Austin in the face. So I'm telling it exactly what I want you to do. So it's going to show RawkTalks walking into the room. He's going to punch Charles Austin in the face. And it's not only going to give me RawkTalks punching Charles Austin in the face, but it's going to give me several transition shots, so that when you see RawkTalks' fist go like this, you're getting the action that you're going to need, so that when you edit it all and for the movie, for the scene, you can pick different angles and different shots. I can choose camera angles. I can choose lighting. I can choose direction. I can choose whether I want it to be, backward, forward. I can choose whether I want it to be a wide shot, a medium shot, an establishing shot. Whatever I need it to be, I can set that shot up so that it will, it will provide that, and it will allow me to, work within the confines of it in a cinematic way, so that when I go back and edit it later, I don't have to worry too much about how it's going to come out. I mean, you're going to get to see that, that punch in the face. And then I can decide to alter it and say, well, I don't like it being a straight, just a straight punch. I want it to be a sucker punch. So I can change and make it a sucker punch, and then you could sucker punch him in the face, and it'll alter it on the fly. So as I'm typing it out in the prompts, it's rendering it and generating it based off of what I'm doing, and that's working beautifully for the progress of the movie, because there's a lot of shots that'll come out and like if the shot doesn't come out right away the way that I want, it's okay. I just go in and I just change it, and reprompt it or change it or add to it.
The fact that we're already there with AI is insane to me,
Yeah.
And it really makes me wonder, like 10 years down the road, if studios aren't utilizing this technology,
They are.
They have to, especially when you see all these issues that are going on with the movie budgets. We talked about that last week with all these overblown budgets left, right, and center. As much as like there's this anti-AI movement where a lot of people hate on it, you know what? Unfortunately, it is the way things I see.
It's just the way it is. It's just they're hating on it now because they don't understand it. It's like everything in the world. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Back in the 90s, people used to make fun of other people that met their significant other online. Oh, you met your girlfriend on AOL. Oh, you're a loser.
Those days, yeah. It was so stigmatic.
People used to talk down to people. Oh, you just met this person off the internet. Like it used to be, like the internet used to be a dirty word. It used to be icky. Nobody, and that's exactly what it is with AI. And personally, I, for one, I'm just tired of that. I'm tired of the way humanity kind of judges everything so negatively at first.
This is what I was going to say.
See the positives.
Right. This is what I was going to say about that. So obviously, depending on how you use AI, that just like anything else, it's going to generate either something positive or something negative. But you alluded to something earlier, saying that it can possibly kill Hollywood. So, do you think that if that's a possibility, what do you, as far as actors go, what do you think the outcome is going to be for them as far as how they maintain their they maintain their level of being important as far as that genre goes, or as far as whatever their career goes, wherever their career is going. Do you think that they'll be a part of it, or do you think that they'll be relegated to something like, say, something smaller, like stage plays, back to acting on stage and Broadway and things of that nature?
There's going to be a lot of that, but I think what it is again, when people learn about using AI as a tool, what you have to realize is you're not because, like, for example, I'm doing this movie, I have to do all this stuff. I'm not relying on AI to generate it and give me, but I still have to do all the editing. I still have to write everything. I still have to do the direction. I still have to create everything. If without humans to utilize the tools, you're not going to get nothing out of it. It's just going to be gibberish and garbage.
Example. Yeah, so, exactly. And that's why VFX are so, that's why it's expensive. You think that they're not paying for the programs. It's not the programs per se. It's the people and their time in which you have to pay them. That's why VFX are so expensive. So if you have an AI component in that, the AI can pretty much take a lot of that time out of the equation, basically. The human element is still there. You tell that AI program, that human just tells that AI program what it wants. So as opposed to you trying to render everything yourself in whatever program you want to use, you say, hey, I know what I want. All I have to do is just plug it in. The AI will take care of the rest. And then we wrap that around the app.
Right. It allows me to focus. It allows me to focus more on the creative aspects of it.
Correct.
To create a better story, to create a better movie, because you're not as focused on, the little details, like, okay, I want this shot to, but I still have to create all that stuff. I still have to come, it's like, as far as to answer your question though, about actors and where they'll be, I think a lot of those actors will embrace AI and realize that AI is a part of it, but you're also going to want to, as an actor, you're going to want to still be able to provide your services in a way. Like, I'll give you an example with One Punch Man. There's some people that I reached out to for the movie to be in there that did not want to have their voices cloned to be used in the movie. They did not want to do that. So I gave them, an alternative. I said, okay, well, if you don't want your voice to be cloned, I'd still like to have you in the movie. You won't be able to have as big of a part as somebody who, allowed me to clone their voice so that I can use, their voice for whatever I need. But if you want to be in the movie, I'll send you some script pieces and you could record your dialogue and send me the audio files. And that's what I'll use for your character. So I gave some people that option who I went to that had issues with AI. So I think there's always going to be the need for actors as well. Like, you're not gonna do everything with AI. You're gonna have some instances, but it's not gonna be anywhere near where it is now.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying.
Where actors and actresses are looked upon as royalty. Actors and actresses are actually going to have to
exactly
do other things besides that unless we by then we get to that point where actually nobody has to really work for a living anymore. Everything is automated and AI does everything. So we're living like in the Star Trek era, where we're living in a utopia and everything is essentially just, we're doing the work that we do is for the betterment of humankind, and not because we need it to pay for food or to pay for housing or like basic things like that we have to deal with as people. Right. But I just think it's going to be a different thing, and actors and actresses are going to have to adapt just like everybody else.
I want to jump in on this one. I kind of got a different opinion about this. I agree with Zod when I hear him say like it helps with like him being able to focus on the bigger tasks, instead of him having to worry about rendering out, let's say 30 different things. The AI can do that, whereas he can put his focus where it needs to be. The problem is, and this is the argument, like with the Hollywood side of things, is that they would argue, well, that's taking away, 30 different men from being able to do their job, right? Because right now it takes those large numbers of people, as Charles was saying before, you're paying for the time of the people, right? So it takes a team of people to render out all this stuff right now, right? When you're putting together your VFX, you're basically eliminating that. And now you got one guy who can run an AI program to do that. I see the argument there, but I want to go further and I want to elaborate and give my opinion on what Charles was saying about the actors, because my opinion is completely different than where you guys are going with this. I truly believe right now that we are seeing the last generation of real actors. I don't believe you're going to get any more real actors after this.
A-star actors,
all your A-listers.
That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going. I was just about to say, do you see them going back? Basically reverting. So we went from the silent eras, stage and screen, silent era, and then we went from there. We got sound and all of that, and now we have the era of AI, and AI can pretty much create everything realistic. Think about Man of Steel's budget, almost $300 million for a budget. And that was no AI. That was all computers. That was all programming. That was all the VFX departments. That was all of them. But now that same exact environment that was created for Man of Steel, Krypton, the whole thing can be created in an AI program right now.
Yeah. But I'm going to go even further than that, dude. Okay. Here's what I also think is going to happen. I think that what's going to happen is this last generation of actors are going to be forced to embrace AI. And what I mean by that, I mean the studio is going to come at all these A-listers, these big guys, your Ben Afflecks, your Charlize Theron's, your Ryan Reynolds, all these A-listers. Okay. Studios are going to come at them and say, listen, we want your likeness so that when you guys are gone, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, 70 years from now, we want to use your likeness and we want to continue your legacy, keep making money for your family, generations come, blah 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 blah.
That's
What's
already
going to happen?
happening.
Exactly, it's already
Yeah.
happening. So what's going to happen is these actors are going to sign off on their likeness, and then the AI is going to take over in that sense. The AI is going to be able to do whatever the hell they want with these people, put them in whatever roles they want. And then I'm going to go even further. The reason why I say this is the last generation of actors is because if they need new people, if they need new faces, if Hollywood has to introduce new people, at that point, you could literally go up to any bum on the street and say, hey, buddy, here's a check for $200. Sign off on your likeness. They sign off on their likeness, and now, boom, they have their likeness.
I'll do you one further. You don't even got to do that. You can just create people from scratch. I can do that. I can do that now. I can create people from scratch for the movie. I've created so many extras and people from scratch that aren't based on anybody, that are just from scratch, that are just in the movie as background characters or whatever. Yeah.
The issue also that is happening is that we've already said this multiple times. The budgets are just too inflated, and the studios are not making enough return on the investors' money, because also these A-listers are charging ridiculous amounts of money, and they're going to be forced. Maybe not yet, but it's coming. Like your Tom Cruises, your Ben Afflecks, or your Leo DiCaprio's, they want the 30, 40, 50 million. No, you're going to have to pay a pay cut. I don't care if you have a marketing team, a publicist, an assistant. They don't give a shit. It's about this. It's about the bottom line. And if they want to keep working and stay relevant, they're going to have to pony down on their demand on pay, because that's what also we had the strikes last year. Was it last year? I don't even remember already.
It was last year. Yep.
Last year. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's also something that is affecting the studios. Yes, there are overspending, but also these A-listers are overcharging. You don't need, like, if you were going to pay an A-lister 30 million, 40 million up front and the movie flops, how do you explain that to the investors?
Yeah.
What are you gonna, they're not going to give a shit. Like, no, you invested this amount. I want a return on my investment.
Yeah.
Why would I still invest if I'm not getting my money back?
I'm actually surprised that there's not more flexible contracts where it's like you're guaranteed X amount of money until it makes this much, and then when it makes this much, you get a percentage. You know what I mean?
Well, supposedly now with the new deal with the strikes is that because obviously it's now streaming, and so cable TVs, and that's a dead system now. So now with streaming, let's say if the show is successful, then you get a bonus. You don't get royalties, you get a bonus, which I think it's more reasonable. So that means now you have to work hard.
Because you have to make the show a success. What you're a part of has to be successful in order to.
I saw an article on X Twitter the other day about, I think it was Sydney Sweet, or I don't know, probably was her, bitching about, I don't get enough money for Euphoria, whatever, and comparing her with Jennifer Aniston, that she gets like a $15 million check every year for Friends. That's a difference. First of all, one way better show. And second, a different generation. And third, that's the way people would get paid. If you had a successful show that had more than 5 seasons, then you were all set for life. Like Charlie Sheen with 2.5 Men. You got Jerry Seinfeld also. He's all set. You got Fred Durst all set. Like all these big shows back in the day, they're all set. But now, the ones that are starting in this generation, they're screwed.
These shows aren't doing the kinds of numbers like Friends or like Seinfeld.
Exactly. So they're not making it. They're not. If the show's not a success, then why should the studios pay them? I wouldn't. But at least I'm keeping it fair. It's like, listen, if it's a success and you do numbers, I will pay you an extra bonus because you deserve a little piece of the pie as well. Absolutely. Alrighty, so let's move on to our next subject. We are going to move now to Deadpool Wolverine, the one movie that we've been waiting for eons, and we finally got it. We're assuming that everyone has already watched the movie, So this is the reviews and spoilers of the movie. So if any of you who are watching the show now have not seen the movie yet,
You had a week. You guys had a week.
Yeah, if you don't want to get spoiled, then leave the channel and come back later. But it's been over a week now, so we're talking about it. So, Murtaugh, let's start with you. What are your thoughts about Deadpool and Wolverine?
Well, first of all, I was never a Deadpool fan at all. I was a Wolverine fan, pretty much part of when he's part of X-Men. That's I mean, if from the Marvel side of it, the main Marvel continuity was, if you're talking about the Avengers and all of them, that wasn't my thing. But the X-Men for sure, and especially Wolverine and Gambit to some degree. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I did. For I mean, if I'm ranking all three of them, I say the third one, the first one, and then the second one. So if I had to rank them, all together, but this one was a little bit more. They had a little bit more seriousness and tone that I liked as well, because it fleshed out Ryan Reynolds' character, Wade Wilson. It just fleshed him out way better than the other two did, in my opinion. He was obviously, he was jokey. Obviously, they still rendered the same shots the same way. He tells his story first, how he got to a certain point and all that, which was pretty slick. But when it came to his dialogue, when it came to him delivering that seriousness and that dread, he did a pretty good job with that, because that balanced well to me with Logan's character, because Logan was just like, at first he was like, I really don't give a shit. I don't care why, I don't care. But it was like the more Deadpool got into his head, the more he was like, I really need to, I really need this too. You know what I mean? And he made him see that, yes, you actually needed that. So yeah.
Now, Slim Havoc here says something that I agree with him 100%, that they cut a lot of Deadpool and Wolverine, because I do remember that they had stated, and this is not the first time the MCU, they film something, they get the actor into the lot, okay, let's film this, let's shoot this, but it doesn't make the final cut. Because I do remember that they had announced that Owen Wilson's Mobius was supposed to show up in this movie, and we never saw him. So definitely, I do believe that.
But the third film for me, I would say it felt like it felt more like a family film than any of them did, because in the end, Ryan Reynolds, but I mean, in terms of who Wade Wilson is, you know what I mean? It started with meeting this girl, and from there, he's got his roommate that he was staying with, and it just kind of branched out from there. And then he ended up,
he built a family.
Right. He ended up actually, he ended up actually caring about people. Exactly. He actually ended up caring about someone other than himself. And that all started from that first meeting with her in the bar. That was it for him. And I like the journey that he went on with Logan. That was pretty personable. I had no idea, and I'm so glad I stayed off of the internet. But when they brought back Wesley Snipes as Blade, and Jennifer Garner as I was like, oh man,
that was my favorite. Like when I saw Blade, I was like, I lost my shit. I was in Florida when I went to see it. I was like, I'm not missing this out. I'm gonna go. I told my guys, listen, I'm going to the movies. You guys can come with me if you want. If not, all good. But I am not missing this.
Blade is the reason why I even gave Marvel such as it was back then. I know it was Blade, New Line that was distributing at the time. But
Blade is the OG of comic book movies.
Exactly. It was the first movie that made me say, okay, all right, I'll give Marvel a shot and see how they, and see what they do, because I wasn't really a fan. You know what I mean? Like I said, except Wolverine, that's it. I'm not a Marvel fan at all. And then gave that a shot. And then from there, they've done pretty good. So yeah.
Leo, what's your take on it?
I really loved it. I thought, like, it's funny because I told you guys before that I kind of checked out of Marvel. You know what I mean? I haven't really been following Marvel since like phase 1, a little bit of phase 2, but this movie kind of sucked me right back in. You know what I mean? It made me want to catch up on everything that I missed. And even though there were some elements that I didn't understand because I haven't seen Loki and I kind of didn't understand some of the time travel.
Oh yeah, we did talk about
that,
this. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
because I didn't really get some of that. I mean, it took me nothing to go on YouTube and watch a 10-minute catch-up video just so I could understand what was happening. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought that this was probably the best of the 3 Deadpool movies. I wanted to add on to what you guys were saying earlier when Sid Havoc made that comment. I was going to say, don't worry, because I know with Deadpool 2, and I think, yes, with Deadpool, I don't know if it was with Deadpool 1, but I know with Deadpool 2, they did release like an unrated version. So like they had the 2 versions.
There's actually 3 versions of Deadpool 2.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Christmas version. That's right. Or was that Deadpool 1? Deadpool 1 had the Once Upon a Deadpool.
Yeah. That's right.
So there might be content cut, but it's not like WB. They're not going to hide this in a fucking vault and never show it to us. Eventually, I think this is going to come to disc. We'll see some deleted scenes. They might do an unrated version because the one that we saw in theaters was rated R. So chances are we'll get an unrated version as well. So that'll be pretty cool. Things I really enjoyed about the movie, obviously, were the cameos. I thought the cameos were phenomenal. You know, you guys mentioned Blade. You guys mentioned Elektra, Gambit. I thought seeing Channing Tatum's Gambit was phenomenal because there were rumors about that Gambit movie for so long, and I remember feeling bad for Channing Tatum because I knew he wanted to play that character for so long, never got the opportunity, and I thought that he had the chance to shine in this movie, so that was awesome to see. The Cavalrine. Can we talk about the Cavalrine?
Before we do that, Havoc, we're gonna throw you a drop because you said something here really true, so I want to give you some love. Let me throw, because we got to throw drops also to the crowd, man. Which one? We're gonna go to Sin Havoc. I think this is appropriate for you, Sin.
Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fear.
And Havoc always has wise words. All I tell you is I listen. That's all I'll say. But yes, the Cavalrine. But before we talk about Cavalrine, Zod, your take on the movie, and then we'll go back to Cavalrine.
I really enjoyed the movie. I've seen it twice, and I think that it did what it needed to do. And like you guys, I got to say, I thought the cameos were all wonderful. I especially like how they teased us, making us think we were going to get Captain America, and we ended up getting Johnny Storm, which I thought was fantastic.
I fell for it. I for a second like, oh shit, he's gonna play it.
I mean, when he did Flame On, I was like, this is literally the greatest reveal of all time because it's subverting expectations, but doing it in a good way. So no, I'm with you guys 100%. I thought it was a great movie, and I would like to see an unrated cut of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I'm going to get the soundtrack on vinyl because it had some great music in it, like a lot of great songs that they threw in there, and the songs actually made sense.
And even the remix, like some of the remixes, like the what was it, the Like a Prayer remix at the end?
Yeah,
phenomenal. The way it was done while Wolverine and Deadpool were linking arms together.
Yeah,
had that 360 camera shot. That was like cinema porn. That was like amazing to see.
The one thing that drove me crazy to laugh my ass off when he was dancing.
Oh, right at the beginning, yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Like,
what had me worried?
For a second, I thought it was Ryan Reynolds dancing.
They did really good. I thought it was him too. But you know what had me worried? The only thing that had me worried is I thought that because going into this movie, I knew that this was not the same Wolverine from Logan. I knew they were going to obviously pull him out of another universe. I thought I wouldn't have that same connection to this Wolverine that I did with the Wolverine throughout the Fox universe. You know what I mean? I thought that was. I thought it would be hard for me to connect with this Logan, but I felt like once I saw it play out, the way they told the story was so well done because it brings you right back and you realize that, you know, this Logan's been through so much. He's gone through so much pain. He's lost everybody. You know, he really is the worst Logan, you know, and to see him redeem himself throughout the film was a beautiful arc. It was phenomenal. So I loved the movie and I wanted to make sure we touched on that because, yeah, I thought it would be hard to connect to a new Logan, but the way they did it was just, it was a masterpiece, in my opinion. Masterpiece.
Now, the way they, the way that they introduced Cavill, first of all, I was so freaking pissed because that's the first thing that got spoiled and I was so furious because I did not, like, this is what pisses me off about social media. A lot of these social media influencers, clicks. Come on, be a fan, dude. Don't spoil it. You know, we are going to talk. You're going to get the clicks either way. Just hold on for another day or two, and then spam everybody with the freaking thing. If you
Dude, I saw the whole scene on my timeline the day before it was even released.
This is what Rox and I were trying to not say when we were talking privately on our chat because.
The whole
freaking scene was spoiled, and
you guys live in an age, an era of selfishness now and decadence. Come on,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know that they don't. You know, you know, there was a time where you know it was people looked out for each other, and there were because we didn't have all of these distractions.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. We got distractions now, and they're all about self. And here you go. And this is just one thing to add in the pot. We don't care if you saw the movie or not. We're gonna blast it all over YouTube just so people can run on my channel. And whether they curse me out and be mad at me, or whether they're happy that I spoiled it, they got the clicks.
But it's what I don't understand is the likes. Like, why are so many people engaging and liking these posts? It's like
they're probably not even real.
Is that really?
But they're probably not even real.
I probably not.
They're not.
At the end of the day, it's like, is that really how you want your first experience to be of this movie to be seen? You want it to be seen on a tiny little cell phone screen or a tiny little computer laptop? Like, that's what I don't understand. It's like that has to be what's going on. It has to be paid engagement because I don't see everyday folks wanting to ruin the movie in that aspect for them. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
This was
all right.
This was just a good, the perfect fuck you to WBD. Like
it was. No, he's not wrong because it was just like Feige was just saying, you know what? They've been disrespecting this guy for so long. I'm going to go ahead and just show them, you know.
You think it was Feige or do you think it was Ryan? I think it was probably Ryan. Because I know Ryan is a big fan of the Snyder Cut and he's been a big fan of Zack's.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, though, yeah, obviously he probably had to convince Feige to do it, but Feige, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have had an issue with that.
One thing that Feige's favors is that Feige at least listens to the fans because they know that we've been wanting to see Henry Cavill shine as a star, either as Superman in DC or anything else that if he were to come into
anything that he does. Like I said, I couldn't even remember this was the guy that was in that film Immortals. That was the first time I've ever seen him.
Right.
With Mickey Rourke as he was playing Hyperion. Yeah. And we saw that at the movies, you know, me and my wife. And bro, I mean, after that, you know, I found out he was going to be in Man of Steel. You know, I was just like,
who knows? Maybe now that we know that Secret Wars is coming, they might bring in Cavill for maybe, well, this was a 30-second cameo. They might bring him in for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. Who knows? You know.
Well, I was about to say those other cameos weren't cameos. They had speaking lines, man. They were actually involved in the plot. So that, I mean, this was officially like the real cameo of him because it was only like 30 seconds or whatever. But yeah.
Do you guys think there's any like? Do you guys think this will have any implications for any potential future for him to come back, not as Wolverine but as Superman? Like, do you think that this could implicate anything? Like, do you guys think, like, after seeing this, that there's still any bit of a chance? Do you think that?
Oh, you mean versus the egos at WBD?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I think they're tap dancing. No, I say absolutely not. WBD may be bringing Zack back for you know, and I guess that's been confirmed now that they're bringing him back for the 300 TV series, but they're tap dancing over there, bro.
So do you guys kind of view this,
but they're tap dancing.
So do you guys kind of view this as a way of his closing the book on that chapter and maybe opening up a new book in a new chapter? You know what I mean? Like, you think, to me, I see this as symbolism that he's moving on. You know what I'm saying? I will still support Cell and still push Cell because I still want to see that, you know, but I think that on Cavill's personal journey, for him to do this,
I think it's over.
Be him closing that book, and
I think so too.
Up
I'm starting to feel that. I'm pretty sure he's always going to want to play Superman. That's no doubt in my mind. But as for his health and for his personal growth, yes, I think that he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce.
I have to disagree. I think that Cavill would come back for Zack, especially Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. I think he would do it because he knows that it's, you know, it's one more run as
I'm
Superman.
not saying he won't do it. No, I'm not saying he won't do it. I'm saying that his right now his focus is probably not on that. And if Zack said, you know, like, let's just say Zack did come back and say, hey, can you do this? If he's busy, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be like, well, Zack, you know, I can just drop all this and do it. He's going to be like, nope, unfortunately, I can't do it now. I got this going. I got that going. Let me see what my schedule looks like. You know, I'm always going to want to play Superman, but right now I have these things in the air. That's what I think. You know, I don't think he's just, he does. You know, he's got Warhammer. He's got Highlander. He's got, you know, he's got stuff coming down the pipe. So,
actually, with regards to, I'll say this before we move on to the next one, but with the Warhammer, I think that one's in danger. Because I think I read that unless they sign an agreement for creative control, you know, and an agreement to make sure that the thing stays loyal to the source material, it's dead on the water. So
right. Cavill doesn't want to do it if it's not true to the source material, because that's why he left. That's why he left the Witcher.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to go through that again, and I don't blame him. I think the guy's earned the right to have those clauses. You know what I'm saying? And if he's going to invest his time, he's going to want to, you know, make sure it's done right. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
Sergeant Giratina says here, Cavill would definitely come back as Superman to fight Brainiac and Darkseid in live action movies 100%. Oh yeah, if Zack makes one phone call and he's in, and we already know that he is going to be in Rebel Moon Part 3. So Zack made this man a star. And in my book, when somebody extends you that hand, you know, and they need you again, they're not going to say no. Absolutely. All right. Before we move to the next one, let's one drop here for Sergeant here. Let's where we go? Nope.
You look terrible. I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
It's too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
And that's how Hollywood works. For sure. Yep. All righty. So, this is something else that happened during ComicCon 2024. Not only that we get, obviously, announcement of the Fantastic Four and also Deadpool Wolverine, which the movie was already out, but also the actors came in. You know, we heard interviews with Snyder saying how he came back. But we also got announcement that the Russo brothers are back in town to help steer the ship, because in my personal opinion, when it comes to the MCU, this was a desperate move from them to bring RDJ back, because this is also part of the problem that they are having now, in not just in Marvel Studios, but in Hollywood per se. They're overpaying these actors, and don't get me wrong, RDJ is a great freaking actor, but he even said it himself during his Oscar win that Oppenheimer, he needed that movie more than it needed him. And that's saying something, because he knew that, listen, I've been working in these comic book movies for so long that I saw an article the other day that he even said that, you know what, I like, he was like losing his confidence, like, can I still act? Like, be that Chaplin guy, you know what I mean? And honestly, great that we're going to see RDJ again in the MCU. I am hyped to see him as Doctor Doom, but I know it was a move of desperation, because there were so many other actors that could have also played the role of Doctor Doom. But, you know, what do you guys think? This was huge. This was a huge news.
He's gonna be Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be Tony Stark. It's all part of the plot. It's gonna be Tony. It's not gonna be Doctor Doom in the way that we think. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I think that so I kind of agree with what you're saying. We knew it was going to get the kind of fan, whether or not whether or not you agree with that decision of making him Doctor Doom, they knew the type of response that they would get bringing back RDJ back to play any role in the MCU, pretty much. Was it desperation? Sure. But was it calculated and smart? Absolutely. Because another company that I know of could use for a little bit of desperation, and that desperation is getting on the phone and saying, you know what, we're going to swallow our pride on this one, Zach. Come back and finish your stuff, bro. We need the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's desperation too. But whatever it takes. Now, is that going to excite every single fan, especially the ones that love him in the Iron Man role like myself? It would be interesting to see him playing Doctor Doom, sure. Am I like overjoyed about it? Not really. I liked him as I loved him as Iron Man. He was, you know what I mean? I loved him as his Iron Man. He portrayed that role as Tony Stark very well. So to me, that's what it is. I personally believe, like I said, for desperation and nostalgia purposes, yeah, they did what they had to do. I get it. From a business standpoint, they did what they had to do. But from what that other half of fans are used to, seeing him as Iron Man, seeing him as Tony Stark, well, we'll see, right?
Now, the thing also is that also Sin Havoc, yes, that's another thing that I was going to touch on, but thanks for reminding us that RDJ did demand the Russo brothers. That's why the Russo brothers are back, because nobody wants to. Well, first of all, RDJ, like, you want me back, sure, but I want these guys, because he has a working relationship with the Russo brothers. Second, they know how to work with him, how to direct them. And third, he's not going to put his career at risk on someone who he doesn't know, on a nobody, on someone who hasn't even had to hold the weight of direct the weight of these movies and bring it to the big screen. So you're right. This is definitely desperation, but I'm happy for it. And also, Rocks, we had talked about this privately. I know. Remember we talked about this theory? We have a theory.
I have a theory, but I've got a few theories. I've been letting it sit and digest. Right?
Okay, go for it.
The one thing I'm going to say is I think people are paying way too much attention to Robert Downey's playing Doctor Doom, and not the fact that Robert Downey is back in the MCU. Okay, because the Russos have thrown us swerves before. Okay, yes, they announced he's playing Doctor Doom, but does that mean that just having him back, that means that there is all the potential in the world that Iron Man can come back? He could easily, he's back. Robert Downey Jr. is back. He could.
That's what I was saying.
Both characters.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
and
He could be playing exactly. That's exactly where I was going. Yeah.
And here's the thing: like we just saw what happened to Deadpool and Wolverine, and you have all these different variations, all these different variants of these characters. Yes, this very well could be a variant of Tony Stark. That's what we had discussed, is that it could be a variant of Tony Stark. There are comics where they did. There was a storyline where Doctor Doom had taken. There was a storyline where Doctor Doom had taken over Tony Stark's body when they were in college. Okay, and that was like an Elseworlds story.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
There is an Elseworlds comic book story where Doctor Doom had taken over Tony Stark's body when they were in college. They were roommates. They were college roommates.
Really?
In this Elseworlds story, yes. And Doctor Doom had swapped bodies with Tony Stark, and then Tony Stark eventually had to go back to Doom's what is it, Latvia, his home wherever he's from. Latvia. So Tony Stark, in the body of Doctor Doom, he got kicked out of the school, had to go back to Latvia. He was all depressed, but then he decided to embrace the Victor Von Doom persona and started, becoming the scientist and doing all the stuff that he would do, right? And meanwhile, all that's going on, Victor Von Doom in Tony Stark's body is basically using all of Tony's resources to from what I understand, build up the Iron Man arsenal, but use it for nefarious purposes, right? So eventually they both. Yes. Well, look it up. I can't remember what it's called. I was reading about it on the internet.
I'm reading it right here. Tony Stark fully became Doctor Doom in What If Iron Man Demon in the Armor issue 1 after Doom swapped their bodies. And Tony decides to live as Victor Von Doom since the villain destroyed his life as a Stark.
Yeah.
Well,
so
let me share this on the screen. Hold on.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. Now, I don't necessarily think this is the exact direction that they're going. I do think that, yes, I think Robert Downey Jr. will play Victor Von Doom, and not necessarily a Tony Stark variant. I think he's just going to play a variant of the character Victor Von Doom that just so happens to look like Tony Stark. And then eventually I think we're going to get a really cool showdown between, I see it leading up to a showdown between Spider-Man and Doctor Doom, because what I want to see happen on the screen, and I think a lot of fans would really enjoy seeing that whole dynamic where it was like Tony was like a father figure to Peter, right?
Yes.
Throughout the MCU. So now it's kind of like the role has changed, and now we have to see the student defeat the mentor in kind of in like a multiversal type way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Tony, but it is Tony. But like I said, let's go back to just the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is back in the MCU. I don't think we're limited to just him being Doctor Doom. I think this opens up all the possibilities. I think we very much could see him back in the Iron Man suit. We could very much see Iron Man go up against Doctor Doom. It's all possible. The possibilities are endless. Do I think it's desperation? That's hard to say, because I think that Marvel was in a desperate situation and they had to do something after the whole situation with Jonathan Majors. Now, I don't want to get into that situation, but it was obvious that they were going to have to do something. They were going to have to pivot. They were going to have to go in a new direction. Did they make the right choice by doing this? Well, time will tell. We won't know until we see the end results. But I think it has the potential to be great. I think that after seeing the direction that Marvel wants to go, after watching Deadpool and Wolverine, I think that the multiverse possibilities are open and anything can happen. So
here's a good point that Homa DualShock has said. Do you think RDJ will have an accent? What do you guys think?
I think he could do it. I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, he can pull it off. Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is an actor, bro. I mean, he's not like The Rock, where The Rock plays The Rock in every every character. You know what I'm saying? Like after seeing him in Oppenheimer, like holy shit, dude! Like you know why he needed that, because he wanted to separate himself from this superhero genre. He still wanted to show the world, like, fuck, I'm Robert Downey Jr. and I can act. Like I am an actor. Right. You know what I mean? So take that, apply it to this new role. I think he's going to act. I think we are going to see a different side. I do not think we're going to get Tony Stark all over again. I think we are going to see him actually take this character seriously, play him. He's just going to happen to, I just think he's going to be a variant of Victor Von Doom that just so happens to look like Tony Stark. That's what I think.
Whether wrong or right, whether you agree with it or not, it was a calculated decision that Feige made, and I happen to have footage of what was going on inside the meeting rooms at WBD when this information dropped that Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. was coming back as Victor Von Doom. So this is exactly what happened. This is real-time footage inside their studio. This is what happened.
Hey, Phil, could you highlight Sin Havoc's comment? Spider-Man versus Doom? Highly doubtful.
Where are you?
Spider-Man versus Doom. Highly doubtful. Not Tom Holland, maybe Miles Morales. No, Sin. It's going to be Tom. It has to be Tom.
It has to be Tom. Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking for it. Hold on. There we go.
It has to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't make sense to be Miles, because think about it, Sin. You have, like Rock said, the student has to face his mentor now, because in the first 3 Spider-Man movies, he was just a kid relying on Stark
Tech, exactly.
All the suits, everything, all Tony Stark, and now he's out.
By the end of the 3rd movie, he is supposed to be embracing he's supposed to be actually embracing Spider-Man as an individual, as his own, being on his own. Nobody knows who he is anymore. No more memories of Peter Parker, no more memories of the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. He is supposed to be his own character. He has to step out of Tony Stark's shadow. So for it to come full circle and now it be the student taking down what looks like his mentor, like the emotional storytelling you could tell with Tom Holland being that Spider-Man to go up against what looks like his father figure, like that could be incredible. And I think that is the direction that they are going to go. I think that is the full circle of this entire story that they're going to tell.
Now, Sin, one thing that Miles could be introduced through Secret Wars, probably, but yeah, I agree with Rox. It makes more sense to have the mentor, face his master. But for that, you get a drop.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't have my boy here pull your head off.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. It's
gone. Okay, let's highlight one more comment from Sin Havoc here. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is getting a symbiote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now
we already knew that already. Yeah.
I agree. Yes, he is getting a symbiote. But what if they're going to tell the story as it's his emotional connection to what looks like what looks like Tony Stark? Him seeing that is what's going to enable him to get that fucking suit off. You know what I mean? It's going to bring him back to reality. That's what I think they're going to do. They're going to have that.
And also him fighting the other Spider-Man.
Yes.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
But I think that him actually seeing when that mask comes off of Doom's face and he sees what he thinks is Tony Stark, that's what's going to make clear his head. He's no longer, the symbiote's no longer going to be in control, and he's going to be able to give us that iconic pull where he rips off the suit.
If they're smart and they want to show us that Robert Downey Jr. is really an actor's actor, they'll make him unrecognizable, and we won't even and you won't even have the Tony Stark.
But you're going to have that, but you will, because the thing is this version of Doom and this version of the Fantastic Four is not taking place in the same 616 universe as the main timeline. So that's why this is possible. That's why they should have Tom Holland Spider-Man recognize the face and be like, holy shit, because it's the same face, but it's a different.
Also,
universe,
we're forgetting something else also, guys, is that Spider-Man, we're not counting Thor here, okay? But Spider-Man is pretty much the only hero left in the roster and the 616 timeline that's relevant that people give a shit, because
he's the star. He's the star.
You know, it's not Captain America, Falcon, Black Captain America. It's not Shuri, Black Panther. It's not Shang-Chi. It's Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
He is going to be the star of these Avengers movies going forward. I know a lot of people might not like to hear that, but that's the truth.
And keep in mind, though, if this is also a smart, if Sony is smart, because they've been throwing flop after flop with these last movies with Madam Web and Morbius. They suck. So they should be smart and let MCU listen, okay, we will continue this business relationship that we've established with you guys. We will lend you Spider-Man, Tom Holland, so you can do the MCU, so you can do the Avengers movies, you know, so they can continue doing their the next three Spider-Man movies, his next trilogy. Everybody wins. We, the fans, we eat it up like crazy, and both these studios make money. So
and like I said before, what
and then you retire him, and then you retire Tom Holland, and that's when you bring Miles Morales.
And like I was saying before, what better way to show like that full circle moment, that what better way to do that than have the mentor defeat the student defeat the mentor? Like there's no better way to do that. It's like poetry, you know what I mean? It's beautiful if it's done properly, in my opinion.
Yep. All right, any last comments on this subject, guys, or so we can move on to the next one?
Nope, let's roll it on through. What are we talking about? This is it.
All right.
Ugh.
That's
yeah.
No, but before we do that, hold on. Where's that video?
The one where homie.
No, not that one. But first, let me throw this one because I had one here.
Okay, you did say aft.
AFT, aft.
And that's a fucking word.
In the back of the cabin on the right side, Leo.
Well, why didn't you just say that to begin with, Roger? I love these people get around boats and water. All of a sudden, everything becomes fucking nautical. A stern, a vast, you landloppers. Man the bilge pump. What? Pump your fucking ass.
All right.
So we're gonna rant about this shit, so I figured, okay.
In the back of the cabin on the right side, Leo. Well, why didn't you just say that to begin with, Roger?
PC Studios fucking logo review. Let's start with our distinguished captain here. What are your thoughts?
It's just a copy and paste. It's been done before. No originality. What do you expect from James Gunn?
Short, sweet, simple. I like it. Facts. That's just what it is. You know.
In fact, there's rumors that they copied it from a fan designed logo as well. It's not even because they did there was a fan design that was done that did a 3D version of that exact logo, and they copied everything. They just didn't make it 3D.
See,
right down to the right down to the font.
I actually
Everything about
posted
this
it,
man is fake.
Phil, I posted the video of it on my timeline. I posted it
The
a few days ago.
logo,
the logo
is,
from the YouTube, the fan YouTube project.
yeah,
That's it.
Let me go in. Hold on.
Yeah, I've posted a bit since, but it's on there because I did a screen recording from my phone of it.
It's despicable, isn't it? I mean, they can't even come up with anything original. He's the very definition of a hack. You know, Snarky J likes to call Zack Snyder a hack, but yet everything that James Gunn is doing is what a hack would do. It's crazy.
Ross, can you DM me that, please? Because I can't find it.
Yeah, give me a few minutes. I'll try to find it.
No worries. Yes, thank you, Zod. Thank you for that, because that's a hack. Copy and paste. That's it. And listen, the logos, freaking Rocks. Shout out to you, dude. You can come up with simple logos. I'm sure you could have come up with something way.
Bro, I was gonna say, if they threw me whatever they paid that graphic designer to do that,
they didn't. They used AI for it. They didn't pay anything.
I'm sure they used Photoshop. And that's it.
Like I know that's an old logo from like their old comic books, like the 70s style.
From
logo.
the late 70s up into I think like 1992, maybe.
You know what? I made a comment about it on my page, and I said, like, who's the target audience here? Because anybody that was around when that logo was relevant, chances are they're in a retirement home by now.
Exactly. So he's going back to the days of Steamboat Willie, and that's what it reminds me of. That graphic, that animated graphic where you got the old timey Superman running up and
I don't know. I got DC comics from the 1990s that have that logo, so I wouldn't go as far as to say that.
No, but even when they did Zod, they did the reveal at the San Diego ComicCon. So it was a 3D version of this logo that's up on the screen right now. But before, what you originally see is it's Max Fleischer's Superman. Right, and then he pumps his chest, he breaks, it's like the chains that are on him break, and then the logo spins and you see this DC logo.
So let me ask you a question, Rocks. Let me ask you a question. Hold on, no. So check this out. So from 1970, go back to that one comment. The one just before, that one right there. So he said from 1976 to 2005 is when this logo existed. The Fleischer Superman. How old is that Superman?
It's like 80 years old now.
See what I'm saying?
Right?
That's what I'm talking about right there. See, you're using a Fleischer Superman from the 30s, and you're using a logo from 76 to 2005. And it's not even an animated logo. It's not 3D. There's other than Superman popping out as a cartoon, like looking like a cartoon character. There's nothing about this logo or that animated graphic that says, wow, I want to go see this movie. Nothing.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you my exact quote because I just pulled it up on Twitter. This is what I put. And I quoted, "It invokes nostalgia for who? A generation that's already in the grave? Seriously, who is alive today that can look at this and claim it invokes a nostalgic feeling? I'm sure my 90-year-old grandpa, who can't wait to break a hip when he's checking out the new DCU in those D-box seats, is really going to enjoy this logo." Because it's the truth. It's like, who is your target?
You know what James Gunn
here?
did? James Gunn played to David Zaslav's out of touchness. That's what he did. He was able to talk this man into, because he's talking about how James Gunn was sent by God and all this other kind of stuff. This man has absolutely no idea about superhero characters, nothing. Yeah. So James Gunn could have rolled up in there and told him anything, and Zaslav would have been like, "Sure, I'll do it."
Phil,
I'm serious, dude.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it right now. Hold on.
So yeah, this was a fan project where they had animated.
Right. Oh, yes, I remember this now. Okay, let's start it over. Hold on. Let me just hide you guys for a second so I can put you on the side here. Nope. Nope. I gotta learn how to use this shit. Okay, here we
That's
go.
good. You could just full screen that, and then you're good. Yeah.
Good night. Hold my DualShock. Thank you for stopping by.
That's way, way, way better.
But it's the same logo. It's the same logo, and it was from a recent YouTube project. And it makes me ask the question, like, you know, the way James Gunn is, you know how often he's on Twitter and on Threads and constantly scouring the internet. I wouldn't put it past him to be scouring YouTube for fan projects, to seeing what he can try to adapt and what he
Exactly.
can try to do.
X Twitter created this for him, man. X Twitter made Superman.
And I guarantee you, he saw
that.
that logo and said, "Hey, that would be a cool logo to use for my new studio." And now there you go.
Yep. So yeah. So yeah,
And
that's
it
my
is
thoughts on it.
It's lazy. Futuretron just said, just lazy. Yeah, it is. Because like I said, who is your target audience? This would have been the perfect opportunity to unveil something new, to have a new designer come in, a new artist come in and do a completely different take to represent the future, to represent this new take on DC. But James Gunn doesn't understand.
James Gunn doesn't have that ability, though, Rock.
He doesn't have the ability.
Exactly. He has no knowledge of, nor does he. It's like all of his fandom is steeped in obscurity and just pure BS. The stuff that he likes, he's the wrong man for the job, 100%.
Oh, I agree. And you guys know,
and I've also said this before, that he's trying to appeal an audience that doesn't exist, or gatekeepers that are out of touch in time. And
he's trying to appeal to his bots on Twitter X. That's what he's trying.
Exactly.
He's trying.
and you guys know me, I'm a branding guy. So when I see this level of branding, like, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed for DC because they deserve better. When my Lethal Geeks logo that I came up with looks better than your DC Studios logo, you guys have a problem. You guys have a real fucking problem.
Exactly. All right. Well, I don't want to get stuck on this crap too long. I want to move into something awesome now.
Amen.
That is the Rebel Moon director's cuts. Let's get it.
Can I say something right off the bat before you guys start on this topic?
Yeah,
absolutely.
On your most recent episode of Lethal Geeks, you had a Curly Ray on, or the Curly Ray, and you mentioned you said something that I took issue with. And you guys told me, Costello told me, whenever that happens, to not to be afraid to say it to you guys and to tell you guys. And you guys made a comment. I don't remember if it was RawkTalks or if it was you, Charles, but you were talking about the director's cuts of Rebel Moon. And you were talking about the controversy surrounding the lack of a trailer for Rebel Moon, and you had made the comment that the director's cuts are simply just extended versions of the versions that we already saw, as the reason for them not putting out a trailer. And I kind of took issue with that, because listening to Zack Snyder literally said that these movies could be in a different universe. These movies are very much different movies from the movies that we got initially off of Netflix. So I kind of was like, why would you guys say that? That's kind of like feeding into what the negative view is of Zack. Oh, they're not really director's cuts. They're just extended versions of the versions that we got. When Zack himself has pretty much come out and said that they're different movies. So
I don't think so. It was mostly me, because I was the one who mostly made those comments, and I wasn't trying to imply that they weren't going to be different, or I wasn't trying to imply it the way you made it sound. Okay. But I will touch on this when I give my take on Rebel Moon, because I am going to have a different take than the three of you. I already know that. So I'm going to kind of touch on that. But part of the whole thing was we ended up putting our foot in our mouths because literally the next day he released the poster.
Right. Well, that's what I was
going to say.
And then he
released the trailer, and I actually kind of
made the trailer was different. Yeah,
and I actually kind of made an inside joke about that when I designed a thumbnail where it was Leo Getz putting his foot in his mouth and Zack Snyder was right there, like kind of.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm not mad at you guys.
No, I hear you.
I'm just busting your balls. That's all. I'm not really. It's just something that kind of stood out to me. Like
what it was is like we were also trying to figure out like why wasn't it that we hadn't got a trailer at that point, right?
Yeah,
because we were expecting a trailer and we hadn't gotten it. So that kind of puts me where I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe the reason why we haven't gotten a trailer is because maybe the movie isn't as different as we thought it would be, or maybe it was that they didn't want to reveal the new footage, right?
And here's a funny part, though, just to add to that. There's some stuff. Now, I've read the novelizations for both Rebel Moons, right? And there's some stuff in the novels that's not even in the director's cuts. And I kind of, and that kind of hit me a little bit too, like, oh my God, there's actually stuff that if you read the book, you'll actually get more, than what you got from both, from the director's cuts and the theater. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. So
well, here's what I have
Moon
to say
is kind of like a media, kind of like a media blitz kind of thing where you get something from all the different elements of Rebel Moon. So
here's what I have to say about it. So, as far as them being different movies, in most aspects, yes. And here's why I say in most aspects. If you guys paid attention, there were scenes that we didn't see. There were scenes that we did see that were just altered a little bit. And then there were scenes that we saw in the regular PG-13 cuts that we didn't see at all. That we saw in the PG-13 cuts. What he did, in my opinion, is he mashed all three of those elements together. So I did see stuff that I saw in the PG-13, but I also saw change the dialogue. I also saw added VFX. I also saw extended scenes that we didn't see in the PG-13 cut. So in my opinion, yes, they're different movies, but they're not that far removed from being different movies in the PG-13 cuts. They're not. If you pay attention, there are scenes in that movie in which we saw in the PG-13 cuts in both versions. Just gotta watch them.
Well, yeah, there's
all the way through.
Well, I mean, to counter that, there's scenes that are in the theatrical version of Justice League that are also in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is still a different movie from the Justice League that we got in theaters.
Yeah, it's different. Right. It's going to be different. Yeah, it's going to be different in that aspect. But you got to remember that the this is what I mean. And I'm talking overall. This is what I'm saying. Coming together to find heroes. Finding those heroes, having one of them betray you. Going into the second movie, you're recruiting more people and you're mounting your defense and then you're mounting your fight. And then part 3 comes out, they're going to find Issa and then finally battle Belisarius. That's the same in both versions. That is the main plot. They're finding their heroes. They're mounting their defenses. They're finding out what really happened to the princess. They're going to find her. That's the same in all of them, in the PG-13 cut and in the director's cuts. So to me, that's what I'm talking about. They're just basically they're taking different paths, but they're on the same. You know what I'm saying? That's going to lead to the same outcome, basically. And that's
He's not going to reinvent the wheel, but at the same time, they are different.
See, but Zod, I don't think you could compare Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League as a director's cut like you could compare Rebel Moon and Rebel Moon's director's cuts, because Justice League was not Zack's film. The Rebel Moon.
I'm only comparing it in the sense that there are some, from what you guys were saying,
yes,
about
there are scenes
that are
sure.
the same. Yeah, there are some scenes that are the same.
But again, like this is like a director's cut of a director's movie, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
for sure.
that director, the Justice League, that wasn't his movie. Yeah, his name was on it, but it wasn't his movie.
Right. Yeah, absolutely
right?
not. It wasn't his movie.
So,
but some of his scenes were used.
some of his scenes
is
were
what I'm
used,
saying.
repurposed, yes, for sure. Now, I want to talk about Rebel Moon, and to be fully transparent with everybody here, I've only seen the director's cut of part 1 so far. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I got my kids running around the house. It's been a busy weekend. It was my dad's birthday today. I haven't really had the opportunity to consume as much media as I probably should have before this podcast, but I want to talk about part 1 and okay.
So let's go to part 1 right now. Hold on. Let's go into so for people
I don't want to go too long, guys. I got about
out.
another 15 or 20 minutes and I got to roll out. So
perfect.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So if you haven't, we're talking spoilers now, Rebel Moon. So if you haven't seen the director's cut, part 1, check out and replay crew later. All right. So you've been warned. All right.
Yeah.
Go, guys.
All right. So one of the things I noticed is that I had a real hard time connecting to this movie. Like, okay. So I want to be clear. I am a Zack Snyder fan, yes, okay, but it was his DC stuff that really turned me on to Zack Snyder and his work, okay? The reason why I love Justice League and I love Zack Snyder's Justice League so much is because I have a 35-year history of my entire life of knowing those characters, okay, and being connected to those characters and reading those characters in the comics and TV shows and video games. So there is a long history there. All right. So it enables me to fall in love with those characters and fall in love with what I'm seeing on the screen quite easily. With Rebel Moon, it's harder for me to have that same connection because it is a new IP and I don't have an entire life history connected to these characters. Okay. So what I found is that, in my opinion, pacing wise, I actually preferred the original PG-13 cut over the director's cut, because for me, I found that I probably wouldn't be saying this had they have released the director's cut first and had I have seen this version first, but because I had seen the PG-13 version first, I kind of already, like anybody else could say, I knew the journey. I just knew that getting there was going to be a little bit different, right? But because I've already seen the journey, I found it harder for me to stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Just to stay like really focused in on the movie, because it's like, man, I've seen this movie, even though I haven't, even like the entire intro was, I remember like the intro scene, that whole intro was completely different, where he's playing with the guy's brains and talking about, oh, this was his memory of this. And this, like, that was fucking intense and disgusting to see and insane. And like even the sex scene at the very beginning, how they really establish, the main character's relationship with that other guy before she really starts to see Gunner in that way. But
yeah,
like that whole dynamic, that wasn't kind of like, I can understand why Netflix wanted that taken out, why Netflix didn't want that to be a part of what the audiences first originally saw. I get it from their perspective, but like I said, for me, I just found the pacing of the first, especially like, again, a dad, busy, got very limited time. For me, the pacing of the first movie was a lot easier for me to go along with and enjoy. Again, because I saw the director's cut after seeing the first movie, I just wasn't as pulled in as I was for that first viewing. You know what I mean? So I don't blame Zack for that. Obviously I think that was a Netflix's decision to do that, but because I saw the movie the way I did, I just, like I said, I found it harder for me to get into it because I already knew where this was going. Yeah, what they added in was fucking hardcore. It was crazy. Like I said, during that sex scene, I'm with my wife, and we're watching the movie while we're laying in bed, and she even looks over at me and she's like, "Holy shit!" Like wow. Like she's like, "That's
right." And that's what I'm saying,
right?
In terms of like being at the different movie, or it was a completely different movie, or it was somewhat of a completely different movie, because we saw Noble dive into the cave just like he did. We saw him slaughter all those people in the caves just like we did. They just added a little, they had him a little bit longer, gave him a gun, and but other than that, We saw that in the PG-13 cut. We just didn't see it without the gore.
And
That's
I'll
it.
be honest, some of the gore actually even took me out of it a little bit. So, you know, for example, the Bennu scene where we're watching Tarek and he has to tame the Bennu.
Right.
Okay?
And he stabbed him with
and
his
at the
talons.
very end, the Bennu just fucking like he destroyed him,
Yeah.
and there's blood coming out of his mouth. And then the very next thing it cuts to is the entire crew, and they're all smiling and happy, and they're like they're optimistic about the journey, and it's just like it doesn't fit. We just watched a guy get slaughtered on screen, and then it cuts to the optimistic team.
There should have been a dialogue change, something that invoked that reference,
because
like,
at the
oh
end
my
of the
God,
day,
what do you,
because at the end of the day, it's like they didn't even establish that was Ray Porter's character, right? They didn't really even establish him as like a bad guy. You know what I mean? We just knew that Tarek owed some kind of a debt, and that's why he had him, right? But there was no real reason for the audience to necessarily hate this character or want to see him get torn apart. But that effect wasn't as powerful in the original cut because, again, you don't see the blood and the guts and the gore. You know, it's kind of left for the audience to use their own imagination and figure it out. So when you're transitioning to that scene, you know, you can kind of get a pass with that. But after the audience just sees that, and then the next transition is everybody smiling and getting on a ship, it's like, it threw me off. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to be objective here. It did throw me off a little bit. There was another thing I noticed that threw me off as well is when, Sindri, after Sindri gets his fucking head caved in and his body is laying there, okay, there's actually a part where you can see Gunner go over, and I guess in the original cut it would make more sense, but you could see him put his hand and try to like cradle his head, and in the director's cut it looks like he's trying to cradle a head that's not there. So again, just there were little things that I picked up on that kind of threw me off. Maybe that's just me being overly critical, but from my perspective, for me, pacing wise, I thought the first movie did it for me. Had I have seen this movie first, maybe I would have had a different opinion. But because I've already seen the main story, it was harder for me to get into it. I'm sure people are going to kill me for saying that, but that's my opinion.
No. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, brother. No, everybody's not going to have the same opinion. If you look at the comments, everybody's saying the same thing. Aaron Fisher's reviews, he made that point that you just made. I watched his reviews earlier. He said, honestly, the director's cut were great. But for some reason, that streamlined way that the PG version was shot was perfect. He said he really, really enjoyed the way that was shot. And he has the same opinion like you do. If he was going to just come out with a director's cut, just come out with the director's cuts and let that be that.
Well,
but
Charles, just to play devil's advocate here also, this was an experiment for Netflix.
That's true.
Because now they rolled out, okay, we got the PG-13 version out, we got the numbers. Now we're going to get the director's cut. We're going to get those numbers within the next 28 days. We're going to see if it makes sense to keep this formula or just go straight to the director's cut. But either way how they go, it's still a budget that you got for movies. So it's still a win. You know? Yeah. Also, I want to a shout out to Curly Ray, aka Jimmy. He has a theory here that I wanted to share with you guys also, and you guys tell me if you agree with him or not. So I have theories for Rebel Moon I want to share after watching Rebel Moon, the director's cut. Where's the other one? Here it is. I think Princess Issa might be a supernatural being and might do with a connection to Twilight of the Gods. That is an interesting theory. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean,
even with the paintings of Issa,
right. I know he's referring to a young Cora when she was basically staring at the painting, and saying. So I don't know enough about or have a connection to Twilight of the Gods to make that connection yet. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I really can't. I mean, honestly, I really can't say. So, yeah. Zod, what do you think?
Zod.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I think that Zach is trying to build a cohesive Snyderverse on Netflix with all kinds of. There's all kinds of theories, you know, even connecting Army of the Dead to Rebel Moon and all this. That it's all connected and it all, you know, has a part to play in the story. So I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like Stephen King. Like how his books all connect to basically, yeah.
No, dude, personally, like I watched this yesterday. I freaking loved it. And this is the thing also that this is not a spoiler because this was already shown on Cartoon Discovery. Remember, guys, when they're pulling the ship out of with the ropes?
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw so many Twitter X a-holes saying, "Oh, but why are they just pulling? And the ship should be working. This, blah, 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 blah." Well, now we know why the ship wasn't working, and now it is. So this is what pisses me off, also. But again, Charles, you said it earlier. Twitter X can stupid people on the platform, you know. And
that's just the way it is. There's a different animal. There's a different era for the way people experience cinema now. They just it's completely different than when I was growing up, when I was experiencing it. So yeah, they look for different things there. But I want to give my opinion right quick on the director's cut. So I liked him. I mean, I'm not going to give them a full 5. I'll give them like a 4 out of 5, and I'll start with the stuff that I really didn't care for first. So, the gratuitous sex scene in the first one, basically that didn't fit. And the reason it didn't fit for me is because it later on is obviously established who she was. Who the main character was in love with and who she was going to fall in love with. Now that conversation that she was having with the old man about, basically he was saying, give him a chance. They'd accept you more if you were married to him and all this other kind of stuff.
Give him a child and everything. Yeah,
right. And she was like, well, that's not, basically she was saying that's not the type of relationship that we have. We're good the way we are. So in essence, they were basically saying that she just sees this dude and it's just casual or whatever. So them showing that though had nothing to do with the film. It didn't drive the plot forward at all, in my opinion.
Charles, can I ask you, was the dialogue different in that scene between the director's cut and the original cut? The dialogue was different. Okay.
The dialogue was different. Yes. So I didn't really like that because it didn't serve the purpose. Now, in part 2, between her and Gunner, yeah, that makes sense because that served the purpose of the actual plot. He ends up dying and she ends up falling in love with a man and she loses him again, just like she did in War. So that made sense.
I think that was the reason for why we got that, though, is like a juxtaposition to show you the difference, like to say, okay, this is the kind of relationship she has with him, where it's just a friends with benefits. It's just completely based on lust and just fulfilling needs, whereas the relationship with Gunner is based on love and mutual affection and passion and all of that. So I think the idea there was to give you a differential between the two. So me personally, I didn't have a problem with that because I thought that it really did establish the difference between here. These two are just having sex. These two are making love. These two
actually, you know what? I can see where you're going with it now. Actually, you know what? And when you think about it, now when you think about it, I see where you're going with that, because if you think about where Cora comes from, the whole time she was there, she was speaking about you guys are gonna lose. She wasn't attaching herself to anything, including him. So I can see where you're going with that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, but in the end, they both characters, Gunner and Hunter, I think that was his name, or no, he was a hunter. That wasn't his real name. They established that he was the hunter of the tribe, but they both died a noble death. You know what I mean? They both died going out fighting. So it to me, when I saw that, it did highlight the similarities between the two characters. And it was like the battle that she was having in her own head, figuring out who she wanted to be with. You know what I mean?
Well, and plus he was the hunter. He was more of like the, you know, he can basically, let's just put it this way. He was the alpha male. He's the guy that could go into the village and pretty much have his pick of any woman that he wanted. Right. And Cora knew that. And so it's sort of their dynamic, and their dynamic was purely physical, was purely animalistic.
Did anybody else think?
Like even in the novel, they kind of go into a little more about that. I'm sorry, I just wanted to finish that point.
No worries.
The novel pretty much, you know, talks about that, about how he's pretty much the guy, like he'd be like the choice male for the majority of the women in the village.
Did anybody else think that he kind of looked like a great value version of Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, he does. I've always thought that. He looks like if you guys pay attention, he was in Army of Thieves. Just take away his beard and all of that stuff. He was in Army of Thieves. That was the first thing that I thought. I was like, he looks kind of like Hugh Jackman. Who is this guy? Is this his little brother or something? But yeah, that he looks exactly, you know, kind of like him. Yeah, absolutely. So so what I did like, so the extended visuals, obviously the extended backstories, especially with Cora's backstory. Oh my god. So and Aerys for that matter. I didn't think that they would give him that much backstory, but they did a really good job with his character. That was awesome.
But and that's something that Zack always does. He gives every single character his 15 minutes of fame, and then boom. So
and he did.
Even Jimmy had a lot more backstory in this one, which I really thought they could have used that in the original cut. I don't know why they cut out so much.
Jimmy got a lot of backstory in part 1, but Jimmy really got to shine in part 2. I mean, he really got some great character moments that you just do not have in the PG-13 cuts.
Yeah. So all in all, like I said, I liked the backstories. They extended those backstories, especially with the plot and the plight, I should say, of the royal family. I was really, really interested in diving more into that and what actually happened, and that scene between Belisarius and the king, because he knew Belisarius was like wilding out. And he was like, look, you need to stop this crap. So he had him kiss the ring, and then that was that. And then from that point on, after Belisarius gave his speech, did you see the look on the king's face? Did you guys pay attention to that in part 2?
He knew. So let's move to part 2 now then, because I think that's part of part 2. So we're going now to chapter 2, Curse of Forgiveness. So that part was in the second part. So
so he knew what was coming after that speech. He was just looking around and he was looking at Belisarius like something's actually is about to go down.
No, definitely, like the blood gore wise, I freaking loved it on both movies. But but also I was expecting a lot more heavier, but visually it was beautiful. You know, it wasn't like grotesque, like Dawn of the Dead type, like zombie. Right. No, it was visually beautiful. When you're getting shot, boom, and your head explodes, whatever. It was visually stunning to me. You know, because that's what Zack is. Zack is always about the shot, to look nice and cool. It's not just about like all the gore and all that. It has to aesthetically line up with the story and the aesthetic. And I think he nailed it with that.
Well, what is cinema, guys? Moving photography.
and with his Frankenstein lenses also.
There you go. That's what cinema is. It's moving photography. People seem to forget that there's a reason why the word cinema exists in cinema. When they talk about, oh, he's all style, no substance, he's this, he's that. That is the essence of what cinema is. It's visual. It's a spectacle. That's what you're paying your money to see. Yeah, your dialogue anchors your plots, and your plots attached to whatever your arcs need to be, but you're going to see this play out on the screen. You know what I mean? If not, you can just listen to the dialogue on the radio.
Now, also, when it comes to the sex scene on part 2, honestly, in a way, I'm kind of grateful there was sex. Not because, okay, I'm a guy that I like women. No, it's because it's part also of movies. It's part of our nature. We as human beings have sex. So why have we been prohibited of seeing it as a part of the story? You know?
Charles, you okay, buddy?
What? Did I say something?
It's gotta serve the story, man. It doesn't matter if
that's what I'm
sex
saying.
or whatever, dude. It's got to be attached
That's
to the
what
story.
I'm saying. And I'm glad it happened because
yeah,
it's not forced. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't forced.
Yeah.
You know? And when Zack says, oh, Paul Verhoeven type style, in my opinion, I don't think it was Paul Verhoeven at all. I think it was just Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
I agree with Paul Verhoeven was more raw. You know,
Paul Verhoeven was more raw when it came to gore. Zack is like Paul Verhoeven is an over the top gore-ish kind of director, whereas with Zack Snyder, it's like you guys were saying, he makes everything beautiful, even the gore. There was an elegance to the gore.
Yeah.
So, even to have an elegance to the gore, that's a hell of a thing to say. That's a hell of a thing to even, to even look at, like when you're looking at gore, and to say this man is such a great director that he gives elegance to gore, that's pretty crazy. I mean, ultimately, yeah. So yeah, no, I think what he meant when he said about Paul Verhoeven-esque is just the level of violence, the level of depravity of the villains and stuff. Like there's things that they do that a lot of the villains on the mothership did that was very much like the way Paul Verhoeven's villains tend to act. So it had a Paul Verhoeven aesthetic as far as some of that stuff goes. But yeah, the gore itself, I agree completely. And elegance, that is just pure Zack Snyder.
You know what? When it comes to the sex scene, though, and I can't comment on the second movie because, again, I haven't seen it yet. But here's what it was for me. It was more so about my own expectations and what I thought I was going to see versus what we actually got. So what I was expecting, what I thought we were going to see, I would almost say what I was expecting was like Morpheus Neo sex scene, that very similar style from Matrix Part 2, where that's what I was expecting. I was not expecting it to be as vivid as it was, to show as much as it did. Like even the detail on Cora's body, you can see all the scars down her back and along.
Oh yeah, that was all deliberate, clearly, yes.
Right? Like, and again, it comes back to maybe just my own expectations of what I thought we were going to get versus what we actually got, which was just a little bit more hardcore than I thought. Like I said, I was watching it with my wife right next to me, and she even turns to me and she's like, "What kind of movie did you put on?" I said, "We already watched this movie. This is a director's cut." So yeah, I think that's kind of what it was for me personally. It was just what I expected versus what I got. I had a certain expectation. I was comparing it to like a similar genre type film, and yeah, don't set your expectations like that.
Yeah, never set your expectations. For me, it was all about context, to show you the difference between the difference in the relationships and the difference in the dynamic, the difference between the relationship she had with the first guy and then what she had later on with Gunnar, being more tender, being more romantic, being more passionate and loving and caring, And yeah, again, very Seven Samurai inspired, very much that whole dynamic being played out. For me, I absolutely loved the director's cuts. I thought they were great, and I really wish that, you know, we would have just got the director's cuts
from the
straight away.
Yeah.
And so that we wouldn't have to make these comparisons, because I will say this, with Rebel Moon, these movies are clearly these director's cuts are clearly Zack Snyder unleashed. So you're not going to, with these movies, you're not going to win over anybody. If people didn't like the Netflix versions, they're not going to like these versions just because they're more, you know, they're hardcore or whatever. They're not. But us as Snyder fans are going to love these because we're going to eat it all over, yeah. Because we're you know, we're used to what Snyder does, and we're supporting, you know, his unleashed vision and stuff. So it's kind of like you're, in a way, yeah, you're kind of hurting yourself in a way by having these competing visions, even though they're the same. It's the same director. So I would hope that in the future they would just do the director's cuts and not even have to make separate versions. But I understand from a business perspective why they did that, but still.
So here's my question I want to ask everybody then. Do you guys think that we could ever get a Zack Snyder DC project on this level? Or do you think this is too much? Do you think that with this amount of sex, this amount of gore, this amount of violence, do you think that is too much for the DC brand? Or do you think it is possible to one day actually get this level in a DC story?
Look at how depraved James Gunn is. James Gunn's not.
Exactly.
Continuity with James Gunn with the Suicide Squad. So
I think you can get it with you can't. I don't think you're going to get that out of a Superman, a Batman, a Wonder Woman. But will you get it out of? But can you get it out of those same characters in an Elseworld story, like say Deceased or something like that? Yeah, absolutely, because those books are written that way specifically to be that dark. So as long as the studio lets them do their thing and they follow the source material, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as turning the Justice League into that, I don't know if they'll go that deep into it, but yeah.
Now, there's one thing I wanted to switch in before we wrap this up, guys. This is pathetic.
That was released 3 minutes after the movie dropped.
Yeah.
Which means it's bull crap.
Actually, let me do an even better one for you. Look at right there. This was released at midnight. So this was planned.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Oh yeah. That was a scheduled tweet.
Yeah.
It's a scheduled tweet. Hit piece again against a man.
Right. These people didn't even watch the movie.
And I promise you, they did not get a fucking screener to watch.
No
fucking way.
No.
So this is what
not Collider, anyways.
No, hell no. This is what we have to unfortunately keep dealing with, because this man, Zack Snyder, is so much. He is winning so much, and the hate against this man is just unfreaking believable.
Yes, it
but
is.
James Gunn, he gets all the love in it. James Gunn is the Messiah. James Gunn is saving DC. James Gunn this, you're not. But Zack Snyder, no, he's a hack. No, Zack Snyder's movie just got worse with the director's cut. No, why would you watch that bullshit crap? No, fuck you, Collider.
All right,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, like this, but also in a way, I'm kind of happy that this is happening, because the internet is much. Yes, there are a lot of people, like general audiences out there, that they'll take this at face value, but that's why we, as a podcast, are also calling out crap like this because we can see it a mile away. Like, and I think I saw already. I lost the screen now, but whatever. Rotten Tomatoes. Guess where the score was for the director's cut. Just take a wild guess. Just guess.
Oh, they probably.
Well, it's not good.
Like probably like
13%,
30%, 30% probably.
30 and 40%.
somewhere around there.
This is what happens when they don't get their $50. That's what it comes down to. When they don't get paid, they don't give you a good score.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Like honestly, can anybody honestly here say that movie like was a 30%? Like, come on, let's be real here. That is just a disgusting score to be giving out. 30%.
Well, it's not real. See, this is why I don't take stock into this. I've stopped watching this crap. I don't pay attention to who's scoring. I don't pay attention to Collider. I've stopped doing that because I find that giving them oxygen is what the problem is. So I don't even pay attention to that anymore. I didn't look up Rotten Tomatoes when Rotten Tomatoes dropped it. I didn't look up Collider until I actually saw it on my feed and somebody posted about it. So right. I mean, I don't even go looking, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? I enjoy what I enjoy, right, and I'm done.
The internet isn't real. Period.
Yeah, it's not real, man.
We're real. We are real because we watch it. We're talking about it. We're reviewing it. We're spoiling it. And yeah, there are things that some of us like, other things we don't like, but that's okay. That's part of the conversation. Yeah. This is geek pop culture. We're going to talk about these movies for God knows how long. Just like we've been talking about ZSJL and the Snyderverse for 11 years already. Yeah. You know, this man does fucking great movies. It's art. That's what it is. Yep. It's art. You know,
and the funny thing is like when you look at how genius this is, look at how long Rebel Moon has been in the conversation. Like,
right,
because of the director's cuts, because of the way this was planned out, Rebel Moon has now been in the conversation for how many? What is it, like at least a couple years now? You know, whereas every other movie that goes to theater nowadays, they just fizzle and pop. They come, they go, and nobody talks about them.
Well, with that being said, I take it back. Then I think they should just keep doing it this way because this strategy has worked.
It does work
because it keeps people talking. So release all the cuts you want. Hell, release a third cut at some point, the ultimate cut of Rebel Moon.
I heard that there was stuff that he did actually take out of his cut.
Yeah,
like you were referencing that there was stuff in the book. I guarantee you that stuff.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
I gotta get those books.
Those books are fantastic. By the way,
now that I've seen the both director's cut, I do have to, because Charles did something very smart that he shared with me backstage. He took notes. I did, you know, so he got a lot more details on it than I did. So this movie, definitely, we're going to have to see it at least 2 or 3 more times each.
Yeah, we're definitely going to, and that's what I want to do in the next one here because we need to wrap it up. But I got the notes. What I did was I watched both of them, and everything that I didn't see in the PG-13 cuts, I literally just wrote those scenes down so we can actually go over them and discuss them and digest them in full. Yeah. So I'd like to have a stream where we're talking strictly about Rebel Moon, and we can dive right into it and make it a larger segment. Yeah. One of these days. So yeah, absolutely. So all right, final thoughts, final questions, throw them in the chats, you guys. We're gonna start with Mr. Zodwriter. Sir, final thoughts.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. This is great. I think this is the first stream I've ever been on with RawkTalks, and it was an absolute pleasure. I still have a dream of having you on late night Q&A one of these days, Rock, when we get a chance.
I definitely will do it. I'm doing more and more streams now. I'm getting more and more time, so we'll definitely schedule something in.
Yeah, you're awesome. You guys are awesome, and you know I couldn't be happier that you guys are together and you guys are doing this. And you bring something very, very unique to the fandom and a great perspective. And having it open like this, where we all just give our opinions with no disrespect to anybody, just having a conversation. It's nice to be able to agree, it's nice to be able to disagree, and it's nice to be able to be friends regardless at the end. So I absolutely love this. So definitely thank you very
And remember,
much.
Zod, you're Captain Murphy now, so you're definitely going to be back on the channel.
That
And
is your
that
tag.
is just like with Skywalker. Skywalker is Detective Butters. You are Captain Murphy. So that was I wanted to tell you so sooner, but I wanted to hold it as a surprise because it makes sense. You understand? It makes sense. You definitely are the captain.
But I couldn't be happier. I love you guys. I love being here. I loved this stream. This was so much fun to talk about all this stuff. So thank you again for having me on. And
Absolutely, man. It was our
definitely
pleasure.
looking forward to what you guys got going on next week for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for eking out some time for us, brother. We really appreciate that. Zodwriter, everybody. All right. Rocks, go ahead. Final thoughts,
Oh,
sir.
man. Final thoughts. I've had a long day. I am tired. Part of the reason why I'm wearing the glasses is to hide the bags under my eyes right now. But but no, man, awesome conversation tonight. Thank you guys once again for having me. Thank you, Zodwriter, for being here. And thank you, Zodwriter, for putting this idea, this inception for the Lethal Geeks podcast into their heads. Because from what I understand, you're the reason why this all happened. So thank you, sir. And yeah, man, looking forward to our next episode. Who's our next guest, Phil? We're gonna announce that today, or do you want to?
Not yet.
We're gonna wait on that. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
wait on that.
Anyways, looking
But
forward to
it's
that.
another-
Looking forward.
The next guest, I'll say this: the next guest is also a very important member of the community of the cell community. That's all. I'll say.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me, and thank you, Zodwriter and Charles. Always a pleasure having a conversation with you guys. Phil, man, the amount of work that you've been putting in behind the scenes, keep it up, buddy. Like, you're killing it lately. So yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, my final thoughts is yeah, man, I again never imagined starting something like this. Me and Phil's original inception was to not pump out just news and come on and talk all day and not get fresh perspectives from people from the chat or having guests. The mainline idea was we wanted to start this as a panel, and we wanted to eventually grow and just start having guests on all the time. So it was always our intention to have people on, get those fresh perspectives, those ideas that they have. Even even when we don't agree on everything, we want to bring them on anyway because we like those fresh perspectives when it comes to this whole geekosphere. So I'm glad that we've kept to that idea, and I want to continue that going forward. So having guests on this and making this a full panel is always a better insight, in my opinion. So when it comes to this stuff, so yep,
absolutely, guys. No, and I've been like I said, I came back a new man. So definitely, the Lethal Geeks podcast is growing. We are getting subs. We're getting comments also. We appreciate all the support that all of you out there in the community have been giving us. Please spread the word out. Remember, guys, we need more guests here. We want to get more cosplayers. We want to get more artists. So send them our way. If you see somebody out there who you think could express, they're like right here, Zodwriter. He's doing his animated movie, and we're definitely going to help support Zod and promote his stuff as well. So that's what this is all about. So Zod, when your movie comes up ready next year, definitely you're going to be back.
No, that's live action, buddy. That ain't animated. That's
live action.
Live action. But you're going to be back on the channel before that either way. But definitely when that is ready to go and go live, you got our support 100%, and we will
absolutely. I can't wait to see it.
It means a lot. Thank you so much, guys.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. So we will see you in another 2 weeks. So take care, guys.
Thank you guys
and
for
remember,
coming out. Thanks to the chat. Thank you guys. We really appreciate you coming out.
Watch Rebel Moon, Director's Cut, and also put it on repeat mode because remember, we want Cell to happen. We got to make Rebel Moon a success. So keep those numbers up. Keep those engagements up. Share it with everybody, guys. Everybody. All right? The mission You guys know what it is. All right. We out.
Thanks again.
Hasta la vista, baby.